Hello and welcome to another installment of the Plain Truth 12 channel. This is your host, Luke. Now, in recent news, this is, I guess it's like a continuation off of my transhumanism video that I did a couple weeks back, or a couple months back now. But Synchron beats Musk's Neuralink to FDA approved brain computer interface human trials. Now, if you watched that video, you would know that Elon Musk is currently waiting for FDA approval, so he is able to, go out and test this on an open platform with human beings. Previously, he did it with monkeys and pigs to large success, but he has unfortunately not been able to get FDA approval. However, one of his competitors, known as Synchron, has gained the FDA approval for their human trials. Now, reading from this article, Synchron, a brain data transfer company responsible for the device that successfully allowed two paralyzed people to control computers with their thoughts last year, announced that this week that the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has approved their request to start clinical trials. The approval reflects years of testing performed in conjunction with the FDA. Synchron CEO Thomas Oxley said in a press release, "We are thrilled to finally be launching a US clinical trial this year. While this brain-computer interfaces, or BCIs, have been around for a while, even meme magnate Elon Musk has his own BCI company, Neuralink. They're notoriously difficult to implement outside of clinical test setting. That's largely because most brain implants require, brain surgery, which is difficult, expensive, and dangerous. Even a successful surgery can face problems later on, as the presence of a foreign object can cause the brain to form scar tissue around the implant, which reduces its effectiveness." Now, if you recall, during Elon Musk's brain implant surgery, they pretty much, because his one's a bit different from Synchron's one. It's around a penny-sized chip, which they require an insertion into the skull, into the brain area, which will then insert that chip inside there. But obviously, that's a lot more of a costly issue, resulting in that could have many implications or health issues or whatever, or even mistakes. In this particular instance, it's a lot different and it's less invasive, though it is kind of invasive at the same time, but explains it here. But Strentron, the flagship device, which will be trialed later this year by Synchron, avoids these problems, and which is why it gained FDA approval a lot easier than Elon Musk's one. And it can be implanted in a minimally invasive 2-hour procedure, the company says. The key to this convenience is that Strentron is not implanted directly into the brain. Instead, it is fed via the blood vessels in a procedure similar to stent insertions. Synchron's North Star is set to achieve whole brain data transfer. The blood vessels provide sugary-free access to all regions of the brain and at scale. Our first target is the motor cortex for treatment of paralysis, which represents a large unmet need for millions of people across the world. So, like Elon Musk's initiative, this is being done primarily to help people with paralysis, depression, Bell palsy, epilepsy, and so forth, especially Parkinson's as well, which is how they're being able to gain the FDA approval as well. That's pretty much why they're always going through that avenue, because it's marketed as a medical procedure, something to help the masses. But in conclusion, Synchron aims to enroll 6 patients with severe paralysis for the upcoming trial, which will be at Mount Sinai. Well, that's interesting. Hospital. New York. A similar trial, I didn't even know it said that, is currently ongoing in Australia, where 4 patients have already received a Strentron implant. 2 of these patients were able, after implantation and a short training period, to use BCI at home without supervision. So similar to the Elon Musk with the monkey was able to play the ping pong game with its brain. People through this are able to move how they would have been able to, especially people with paralysis, unable to speak, they're able to, using this implant, to be able to use the digital means in order to do things they couldn't do before. Now, he stated that, actually I'll leave that for the next part, but going on to a video pretty much highlighting what the procedure is like. I think it's very easy, very good to visualize these things. But yes, let's continue. Fair use.
The stentrode is a way of recording brainwave activity, if you like, and instead of doing it through the skull, which reduces a lot of the...
So this is the brain and that's the blood vessels. That's essentially where they're going to be inserting it. Now Elon Musk's one was penetrating the skull and going into the brain and all sorts, but they are merely going through the blood vessels, which is, I guess, a minor difference.
Information you can gain that's recording through a blood vessel inside the skull, and that means you get much more information from that signal. This is what we call a pilot feasibility study, so we're really checking...
I've realised that I've got on 1.5 speed, pardon me.
This is a safe thing to do, and any benefits that come from it are really a great bonus.
The stentrode took a little while to develop. I made a lot of them by hand, a lot of different generations, tried a lot of things. By having a self-expanding nitinol scaffold, we're able to put it through a very small catheter, and when it gets to the region of brain responsible for movement, the motor cortex, it can expand to up to 8 millimeters to conform to the curvature of the vessel. So it was quite challenging to get the electrodes there, and certainly we've learned a lot along the way.
Whenever you're involved in a new procedure, no matter how much work you do preparing, you don't actually know how it's going to go until you do the procedure. When the patients were under the general anaesthetic, when we did the puncture, each step was ticking a box. So the first bit is, can we get access? Yes, we can get access. The next is, can we get the device from low in the neck all the way up to the top of the head on the inside of the skull? And as soon as you achieve that, you get a great sense of we're there, we're on the way. The next thing is trying to make sure that the stentrode is delivered where it needs to be delivered. So it's on the end of a very floppy, long lead, and we have to drop it to within a few millimetres of where we intend to drop it. And then we keep it stable intracranially while we take the lead outside the patient to connect to the telemetry device.
I was diagnosed with MMD in May of 2015, and from day one I was very keen to get involved in any sort of trial to prolong my life or find a cure. In April 20...
So essentially what's going on here, he's got the implant in his brain, in the blood vessels in the brain, and then they hook it up to this device which they will connect it to his chest, and that's like a medium. So that allows him then to control whatever he wishes to control, or do whatever he wishes to do.
2nd of this year I had the procedure to implant the stentrode into my brain, my motor cortex, and the device into my chest. So you can get below green. Those movements are all mine. The stentrode fits in a major vein between my motor cortex, and your motor cortex is the planning part of your brain. So the first set of trials that we did was, tap the left ankle 10 times, tap the right ankle 10 times, your right wrist, your left wrist.
As you can see here, he's typing on the iPad with his brain. He's not touching anything. Again, using that interface from his brain to the thing he had on his chest, the same way that Elon Musk's monkey did with the ping pong.
And they took the readings from those commands to write an algorithm. I think about tapping my left ankle, but I'm not actually tapping my left ankle. And the algorithm then identifies that brain pattern and creates a command on the screen, which would be a left mouse click, for argument's sake. If I can get to the spot I need to go to and hold that command, that thought of tapping my left ankle, I can actually zoom into the screen. I've always been conscious that...
Yeah, but as it's stipulated there, it works via algorithms, it works by coding, which is very advanced stuff. But yes, just to conclude, and this is the CEO of the company himself on his final words regarding the matter.
Towards the end of the year.
Can you give us any kind of time frame as to how long it would be before we can actually get these brain implants that work with people who really need them?
Yeah, the FDA is leading globally on what the pathway looks like. We are moving along that pathway, we think, pretty fast. We think we can be into market in 3 to 5 years.
3 to 5 years, okay? Dr. Oxley, what you've done is spectacular, and we wish you the very best of luck and the very best of success in the future. Congratulations, please. You got to come...
So yeah, as he stated, and it's with all things, 2030 is the year, man. 3 to 5 years. That's with everything. Every bit of technology, every issue in the world. 2030 is just the way. I think once we cross that 2030 threshold, we're gonna get a lot of interesting stuff going on along the world. The 20s is the decade. It's just the demo, for want of a better term, for all issues that's going on now. But yeah, not Strentrode, Synchrone, which is using the Strentrode, if I pronounce that correctly, for the brain implants, for the brain computer interface, ushering in the fourth industrial revolution. But yeah, that was it. Elon Musk has been beaten, but I think Elon Musk will get it soon, just not as quickly as he would hope for. But yes, thank you very much for joining me on this installment. It was an interesting one to go through. Do hope you join me on the next one. Thank you.